Good evening, YouTube. Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. We have continued coverage of Winter Storm Mara. We also have unfortunate news coming out of Texas as power outages have continued to rise exponentially. We're sitting at 350K from the last time that I looked. I anticipate that's probably going up a bit more, especially with this heavy swath of freezing rain and sleet that's falling right now. We're also watching over towards the Ozarks, Tennessee, and Kentucky as well for increased wintry precipitation. So this is going to be ongoing throughout the night tonight. But the good news is on Thursday morning, a lot of this is going to be clearing out the area or actually even turning over into rain. So some of this may start to melt here. The concern then becomes what happens during the overnight hours on Thursday into Friday for a lot of these regions, as we're still dealing with overnight temperatures that are going to be below freezing for a fair portion of this region here. So whatever melts may refreeze. We're going to be going into the details with that in just a second. So here we are taking a look at the temperatures now, and this is going to be a key factor in what happens next here. As we can see here, our surface temperatures were below freezing, and a lot of these areas are just at freezing. So with these surfaces being cold like they've been over the last few days, anything that makes contact with the ground will freeze. This will end up being the case over the next few hours as we continue to see these temperatures drop overnight and precipitation continuing to fall. What ends up happening, though, as we get closer and closer towards the morning, towards the afternoon hours, we're starting to see a lot of these areas starting to get above freezing at the surface. And now we're starting to probably see any precip that's developed over these regions turning into complete rain. Cold rain nonetheless, but it's better than what we're getting, and maybe some of these areas can start to thaw out. There's been heavy ice accumulation all throughout central Texas. I've already seen reports of at least half an inch. I wouldn't be surprised to see some spots up to 3/4 of an inch. And there could be some spots through this region here as well where I have my cursor at where there could be up to about half an inch of ice as well. There's been some very heavy freezing rain and sleet that's fallen over the last few days in these regions. So that being said, we'll move this back up here. Make sure we're looking at the time frame here. And we'll see that warm air start to advect and take over. But look again what happens overnight. A lot of these areas that are seeing those temperatures above freezing dip back below into the overnight hours. And in the early morning hours, those remain. So we still have to be on guard for black ice in these regions. There have been a lot of accidents, especially towards Texas, throughout the course of the week. Thousands of accidents have been reported, and pretty much all of the deaths that I've heard reported have also been all accident related. So that being said, let's try to avoid being on the roads if at all possible. And furthermore, if you are going to have to be on the road, take it easy and just keep an eye out for any shiny patches on the road once the worst of the ice clears. As long as it's really icy out there, just don't bother. It's just not worth it. But that being said, when we get into Friday here, Texas looks like it does a much better job of staying above freezing here into the overnight hours. But the real issue is going to be this region here towards the Ozarks, towards the Appalachians, the Tennessee, Kentucky. You guys are still going to be below freezing in the overnight hours on Saturday. Throughout the day is probably going to be the best chance for a lot of that to melt. But as long as we have these overnight temperatures, this could still be a problem. So definitely be on guard in this region as well. I think by Sunday we should be in better shape. We should have most of this ice melting. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's ahead with the precip. Like I said, worst of it is going to be going on tonight. One thing about the NAM 3 kilometer, since I only get an update on this every 6 hours, is the fact that it's not quite picking up on exactly what we have going on here compared to what we have when we have a look at our live radar. It's a little bit different, obviously. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. But this is what we have going on right now. It's a much larger swath of freezing rain and sleet. And we'll watch this move onward into the morning hours. But Notice how a lot of this is starting to shift over into rain. That surface point where the freezing line is, it's retreated way further north over towards Kansas, far northern Kentucky now, more so towards the Ohio Valley, in association with the storm that's going to be north of the border. May cause a little bit of lake effect snow across this region, but the impacts will be relatively minor. But as you notice here, as we head towards Thursday night into Friday, a lot of this has turned over to rain, and the wintry threat starts to dwindle here. And then from that point, we're in the clear. So the real question is not so much a matter if it's when those temperatures will get above freezing, stay above freezing long enough for all the ice to melt, and then the cleanup can begin. It's been a hectic storm over the last few days, but at least we're finally getting towards the end of it. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at how much more ice could fall between now and tomorrow morning. So one thing to note here is that significant ice is still possible across the Ozarks, especially. These totals, of course, that we're showing here by the Euro, and it's a little bit overdone in my opinion, but still another quarter inch of ice is definitely possible across this region, definitely another tenth of an inch. And any more that we get at this point is really just insult to injury at this point. We pretty much know the situation now. It's just icy all across the board here, and I'm sorry that you guys are going through this. But we got to make sure you're on top of things so that way we can start the cleanup process as soon as possible. This swath of ice here looks like it has Dallas Square in its sights here, so make sure you guys are braced for that tonight. Of course, if you guys are using generators, make sure you're being aware of carbon monoxide. Make sure that generator has room to breathe, so to speak. Same thing if you happen to be stuck and you decide to use your car for whatever reason. Just make sure those tailpipes are clear. Again, carbon monoxide, you don't smell it, you don't see it. It's an odorless killer, and this could very well be what causes the death toll to rise further. Don't get caught up in that. I would really hate to see that. That being said, across western Texas and central Texas, or west central Texas, whichever one you want to call it, we could still see potentially up to 2/10 of an inch ice, I would say. But when we compare this to the Canadian, much more aggressive, of course. I think that's overdone and it's a little bit outdated. This was made around lunchtime. Compare this to the GFS, which is a little bit more reliable. Still a pretty big swath of freezing rain possible here. We could see up to about maybe 3/10 of an inch or more in some of these areas here. Southern Oklahoma is also getting into the action here, so we have to watch these guys too. Southern Arkansas, we're watching you extra close as well. We could potentially see a pocket of a quarter inch plus there as well. Once we get towards Tennessee, though, things look like they do begin to slow down, thankfully. Compare this to the NAM, we're looking a little bit lighter, but a very similar look. The 3 kilometer NAM has a bullseye mainly around Dallas. So if there's anyone that needs to be looking out for this, I would definitely say it would be Dallas tonight. If you can, again, just stay home. I mean, there's really no point in being out there. We already know what the conditions are. There's no point in really trying to hammer this home. We already know the situation. And then, of course, we'll go ahead and look at the British model, which is completely overdone in my opinion. About half an inch of ice. I would really hope that this does not happen. I highly doubt that it does, but then again, we've been seeing some weird things going on with the models here. There's been things that they haven't picked up with this winter storm. It's gonna be a little nerve-wracking to see what happens next. Hopefully, these totals remain on the lighter side. But of course, we still have one more model to look at here. So just give me a moment, and we'll. All right, so now we've jumped to the blend of models here. And again, general synopsis here. Central Texas over towards Dallas. Another quarter inch of ice definitely possible. 3/10 of an inch could be possible in some areas locally, with potentially even greater amounts possible there. Once we get over here, we're looking at about maybe 2/10 of an inch, a little bit less, which is what we're hoping to see. We would really love it if this would just stop falling altogether. But if we're going to have an instance I'd rather see this play out versus what the RDPS or the Canadian model's showing us. Sheesh. But that's what we have going on here. It's the end of this video. I hope you guys out here, if you happen to be watching this video, are staying safe, listening to your local officials, because it's just really not worth being out there. We've been seeing for a minute what this has been doing, and we're not done with this just yet. So just wait it out for a little bit longer. By the weekend, we should be good in a lot of these areas. But if you found the video useful, by the way, of course, you know what to do. Hit the like button. Do the double click if you haven't already where you like and subscribe. Share the video. Of course, there is an ended site here, thankfully. So if anyone is complaining about it, send them this video and tell them to hush, basically. Not trying to be rude, though. Try to do it politely. But anyway, this has been Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys take care and have a good night. Stay warm.